Hello, this is Doe Wilkerson again for Volume 7 of Old School Boxing Talk. Okay, we're a little late with this one, but there wasn't really not much going on in boxing. I wanted to compose my thoughts of what I was going to talk about. 'Cause usually I get on here and I think sometimes I ramble. So, this is going to be short and sweet to the point. The Charlo brothers, congratulations to them. They both hold a piece of a belt. One Charlo brother holds the IBF junior middleweight title. One Charlo brother holds the WBC junior middleweight title. Also, Alessandro Lara retained his WBA championship. So, three of the four titleists in the junior middleweight division were on display on a fantastic card on Showtime. Um, Only thing we need now is Demetrius Andres, and I would love to see what this young man does. Is he come back at 154? Is he going to come back at 160? That's going to be interesting. Now, here's my thought. It seems now that Canelo Alvarez has vacated the WBC middleweight title. And no, he's not ducking. I think that's more of a business move, and that's what people need to realize about boxing. It is a business. And it's a move where pretty much under the purse bid scenario that the WBC had, it would have went to a 45-55 split, which Gennady Golovkin does not deserve that. He brings nothing to the table but his inflated record. And Canelo Alvarez is clearly the A side. Canelo said, you know what? We're not going to negotiate on those terms. Take your little belt. But you know where the money is, and I'm still the real middleweight champion. The belt does not make you champion. Just makes you a title holder, which is what Golovkin is, a title collector. Now, here's my thing with Canelo. If the Golovkin fight is not going to happen, I think it'll happen next year at Cinco de Mayo. I don't think it's going to happen this year. It'll happen next year. Options for both of them. I hope the wretched WBA actually keeps its word on something, but so far it hasn't. And says to Gennady Golovkin, okay, there's no Canelo fight. Hey, Danny Jacobs, make that fight. Or there's Nigel Benn Jr., who's another one of those WBA. He's the WBA interim titleist, and there's a WBA regular titles with the Danny Jacobs. And of course, there's Golovkin, who's their super champion. Yeah, say that 5 times fast, I bet you. Anyhow, the WBA has long standing said it's going to start cleaning up all these belts in division, multiple belts in the division. It has yet to do so. It's given lip service like it always does. But honestly, if you want to clean this up, here's what you do. Quick elimination. Eubanks Jr. versus Danny Jacobs. The winner there, you have your little WBA regular title, and then you go on, and the winner there then goes on and fights Golovkin. There you go. Or Golovkin can fight either one of those guys. I don't care. Just fight one of those guys. For Canelo Alvarez, it's a little bit more. He has a little bit more variety because Canelo he's fighting at 155. He has so many options now because you got the Charlo brothers who are 154, a pound down. I'm sure Jamel there's already one of the Charlo brothers. I don't know, Jermaine or Jamal or Jamel. One of them is talking about he can no longer make 154. He's talking about moving up. So maybe that would be a good fight to make one of the Charlo brothers versus Canelo. Either one of them. You fought on a Sunday. You fought Lara before, and I don't see you going to fight Lara again. So Lara's the odd man out in that equation. So what I would do, honestly, is have a little tournament between those four. One of the Charlo brothers fights Canelo. The other Charlo brother fights Lara. And let's see what happens from that. Demetrius Andres is suing, in the middle of suing Rock Nation. Unfortunately, while he's in a courtroom trying to sue Rock Nation for $20 million, tick, 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 tick goes your career because you haven't really done anything. So, that's the case there. And, of course, young Mikey Garcia, who's free of Top Rank, will be getting back sometime this year. It'll be good to see Mikey Garcia back in the ring. That's what's there. There are good fights to be made, but in those divisions, the only guy, honestly, who doesn't have a whole bunch of options is Golovkin, because he doesn't want to go up to 168 because he's got to collect all these belts at 160. He doesn't want to move down to 155 to fight Canelo, but I think eventually that may happen. You know, Golovkin is a guy without options, and he's 34, 35 years old. He's running out of time. He's got to step it up because actually right now, and I know there's a bunch of people that are going to try to say Golovkin's this monster and he's this and this. You haven't fought anybody. You know, dare to be great. And this is what happens in boxing. I know it's a business. But what happened to guys daring to be great? You know, it seems like you ask certain fighters are asked to dare to be great, and certain fighters are, you know, told, oh, yeah, you're great, great, great enough. You know, no, you're not. Andre Ward was, you know, dared to be great. When Andre Ward was at 168, clean up division, he could have stuck around and fought, you know, James DeGale and fought the Durrell brothers and, you know, whoever else is at once Bio Jack, and he could have stuck around and fought those guys. Made no money. He would beat them all. But you know, there was no challenge there. Plus the people, HBO and everybody else, and a lot of people that are on this Golovkin bandwagon that know that Golovkin has no shot at all of beating Andre Ward, said, hey, why don't you move up to 175? So they asked Andre Ward, why don't you dare to be great? Andre Ward said, fine. Andre Ward moves up. He beats Paul Smith, who was a contender who just came off a loss for the light heavyweight title. He then turned around and beat another young man, Barrera, who was undefeated and was a #1 contender to the IBF title. And now I guess he's going to have a tune-up fight in July and then get ready for a November showdown with the champion, with the title is there, Kovalev. I'm sorry, Kovalev. See, that's how unimpressed I am. What I would in a perfect world, what I would love to see happen, in a perfect world, I would love to see something like this happen. Andre Ward, Adonis Stevenson for the light heavyweight championship. Ward goes in, he beats Stevenson. That would just blow the hell out of people's theory about, you know, what tune-ups are, because that's not honestly, Andre Ward's the type of guy that if you threw that at him, he would take it. Because Andre Ward believes in himself, he believes in his skill, and he and Virgil Hunter would take it. So sure, we'll go and fight Adonis Stevenson. And they would beat Adonis Stevenson. They turn around in November and they'll beat Kovalev. But unfortunately, you know, that's not going to happen because of the business of boxing. And, of course, for Stevenson's side, they're going to say, we never took to build it up, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, realistically, you know, that's going to be something that I think will happen down the line now that HBO is now more open to working with Al Haymon. It seems like now everybody wants to work with Al Haymon. You know, they went from suing Al Haymon because he had all these great fighters and got the PBC up the ground and was saying, you know, I don't really need you guys. I got a partner I got all the networks. I got CBS. I got Showtime to show my things on. I've got all the best fighters. And what have you got there? Yeah, you got nothing. But Al Haymon's not that type of guy. I mean, maybe he says it to people that he talks to. But he doesn't, you know, he doesn't talk to the media. He doesn't do interviews, none of that, which is cool. And he's not their promoter. He's their advisor. So let's get that straight. Okay, so now back to what I was saying. Now, for Gennady Golovkin, it's time to, honestly, Gennady, it's time to stop the bullshit, step up to 168 and fight one of them boys at 168. I mean, come on, you want to fight November, go up to 168, fight Bio Jack, fight, Bio Jack and James DeGale are right now currently supposed to fight each other. But I am sure that Mayweather Promotions would put the brakes on that and give either one of those young men a shot. You know, if you wanted to fight either one of those young men, I'm sure. Because I'm sure if you called Mayweather Promotions and said, hey, you know, or called Al Haymon, who represents those gentlemen, and said, hey, I would like to fight, you know, I want to fight James DeGale. Can we make it happen? And, you know, so, well, James is supposed to fight, but I think we can do something here. And James DeGale, you know, they would give Bio Jackson, hey, why don't we find the WBA super middleweight champion and you fight him and unify those two belts. and we'll put Canelo over here, let Canelo fight James DeGale. You know, they would make the fight. It's not like, the thing I notice about Heyman is, it's not like he doesn't have his people making big fights. But boxing is a prize. It's prize fighting. It's risk versus reward. That's the problem. Al Heyman has got his guys at the point where, yes, we'll take the risk, but we want the reward for taking this risk. Whereas before, they dangle some little BS in front of you, these fighters, and you had to take what they give you. Al Heyman has come along. He's understood what's going on. He sees how the fight game is. Well, you know, and he says, no, we'll take the risk. It's not like we're averse to taking the risk, but we want the reward. So if make it worth my while, make it worth the fighter's while. Because it seems the funny thing about boxing is you got all these people that are running it that have never stepped foot in the ring. That, you know, they're fans. They've never stepped foot in there. They've never taken a punch in their life. They see they've seen the damage, but they don't give a fuck. You know, they don't care about fighters. Let's be honest. The people that run, there's people at HBO, Showtime, CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, ESPN, whatever. The people that broadcast boxing don't care about the fighters. They don't. And all you're disposable. Yes, we love the fight game because, you know, boxing is primitive. Man, a one-on-one fight, it's primitive. But do the people that cover care about the fighters? No, they don't. They're disposable. Well, you got a guy with Parkinson's, got a guy with, you know, all these problems after he leaves boxing. That's his problem. When he was here, we paid him what we fear is a fair amount, and a fair wage, and for his services. And now you're done. Good luck to you. Boxing has no pension like other sports, baseball, basketball, football. They all have a pension plan for retired players. Boxing doesn't have that. There's no pension plan for retired fighters. Jerry Cooney started Operation Fist, but I don't know how successful that's been. You know, as far as a pension plan, I mean, fighters have been talking about it, but the problem with boxing is the guys at the top don't put in and say, hey, why don't we get all the guys at the top and we put this away for not just for ourselves, but for the other guys. They're not, you know, I mean, they're not. Whether it be back in the day with Leonard, to the day with Mayweather. They could, you know, these guys that are at the top making all this money, they're the guys you need to help out. Those are guys that say, you know, let's put some X amount in here. And when you get to the top, you start putting back. And then you give these retired fighters a pension, something to live on. But these guys, this boxing's a business, every man for himself, independent contractors. So you look out for yourself. And there's a handful of guys like, you know, Mayweather, Leonard, De La Hoya, etc. And Larry Holmes, another one. A bunch of guys that make it to the top. And they make it to the top, and if they're smart with their money, they can live. And there's a bunch of guys that don't make it to the top, but then get the damages later on in life, and so be it, you know, cast aside. I mean, one of the guys that is a living representative of that is Freddie Roach, who, if he wasn't a trainer, Freddie Roach would be in sad shape. You know, that's why I think he still trains, because of his medicine for Parkinson's and the other medicine he's taken from his, you know, from the time in the sport are so expensive that he needs to take those training fees to keep training fighters. Because I think if it wasn't for that, I think Freddie Roach would pretty much bow out. You know, but he can't afford it because, you know, like I said, there's no pension. And medicine is expensive. Trust me, I know this for a fact. Medicine is expensive. So, that's, you know, one of my things about boxing. But getting back to my primary thing that I wanted to discuss was like the fights that can be made. I do believe Canelo versus Triple G will be made. I believe that it will be made for Cinco de Mayo of next year. It won't be made this year. You know, that's all smoke and mirrors. It's been set up for next year. They want that fight to build a little bit, make the people, you know, think it's not going to happen, and boom, next year they'll announce it there. And they're trying to hope to make the kind of money that Mayweather Pacquiao did. But, you know, let's be honest, guys. That's not going to happen. There's nobody out there like Floyd. There's nobody out there like Manny that captured that. Canelo is a guy who has a better resume, and he's very well known in the Latino community. But then there's Triple G, who we've seen what he's done on pay-per-view by himself. What the hell he did under 100,000 buys, and the best name on his record was David Lemieux, who was knocked out by um, the guy that's been knocked out, Rubio, who was knocked out by Triple G, who was knocked out. Triple G knocked out Rubio. Rubio's been beaten by Chavez Jr. Says enough. The point of the matter is, the guy that beat David Lemieux was not that good, and he hasn't beaten a top fighter. So, and everybody that inside, all the insiders, the real boxing fans knew that David Lemieux, Golovkin was an HBO fight. It wasn't a pay-per-view fight, but HBO was trying to push these fights on pay-per-view because of their budget. And they're saying their budget was cut in half, and the reason their budget was cut in half is because Jay screwed up, and they pretty much decided they weren't going to business with Al Heyman. Al Heyman had the best fighters, took his fighters and went to Showtime. So you got all these other scallywags. Bob Arum keeps making these other in-house fights that are worthless. How many times we see? We saw Pacquiao Bradley 3 times. We need to see Pacquiao Bradley 2, let alone 3. Then we saw Bradley versus Brandon Rios, Pacquiao versus Brandon Rios. Bob Arum has a bunch of low-level in-house guys that he wants to recycle again and again. Because don't be shocked if we don't see Brandon Rios versus Terrence Crawford when Terrence Crawford gets to 160. Because we probably will. Depending on what happens now. Now Bob had to make a fight that wasn't total in-house. Because he's got his boy, the WBO, Jesse Vargas, fighting Kell Brook in London to unify the WBO and the IBF titles. Now, that's a fight that he damn well could lose, and then Bob would cry. But knowing slimy Bob, he probably got some kind of options that in case this guy lost on Kell Brooks or whatever. Matchbox, the company that Kell Brooks worked with, has been dealing with mostly with Al Heyman. Matchbox, they've been dealing mostly with Al Heyman. Their guys been on CBS and on the PBC, so they've been getting their exposure with Al Heyman. I don't think that's going to change. Because Kell Brooks, should he be victorious over Jesse Vargas, which I believe he will be, he's going to want to fight Danny Garcia. He's going to want to fight Keith Thurman. And, he's going to want the big boys. The thing about it is, then of course you got Terrence Crawford moving up, who I think after this Postal fight, will move up. They're trying. That's Bob's last hope. They're talking about trying to pit Pacquiao in there with Canelo, which is a total farce. I don't know why the hell you're going to do it. Come on, that fight is a money grab, and the only reason you do that fight is because Manny's now the senator in the Philippines, and Manny's decided he's going to just totally go. I always figured that when Manny Pacquiao was time for him to go, that Bob Arum would save Manny and sacrifice him, feed him to Terrence Crawford, not feed him to Canelo. But apparently that's what they're talking about doing, feeding Pacquiao to Canelo. I hope they don't. I would much rather see him get fed to Terrence Crawford, because then you have a young star who needs the rub, getting a chance to fight him. And that would be a big name on his record. Canelo Alvarez has Shane Mosley on his resume. He has Floyd Mayweather on his resume. Canelo Alvarez is one of the best resumes in boxing today. Another guy with a good resume, and I don't know what the hell he's doing, is Danny Garcia. What the hell is Danny Garcia doing? Really, Danny, what the hell are you doing? The last time you had a fight, you fought Robert Guerrero, who is a guy, honestly, I would like to see Earl Spence fight Robert Guerrero. You want to shut, and then let Spence fight Guerrero. I think Guerrero's one of those guys that, honestly, he's good enough to beat anybody, because the only people that beat Robert Guerrero seem to be the special type of people. You got to be special. Danny Garcia is special. To beat Robert Guerrero doesn't lose to anybody. Guerrero's a damn good fighter, and people keep saying he's this, he's that, but Robert Guerrero's a damn good fighter. And if you look at his resume and you look at the people he's beaten, and you look at the people that have beaten him, you'll see that, you got to be pretty talented to beat Robert Guerrero. You just don't walk in there, with some B+ resume and beat Robert Guerrero. You got to know what the hell you're doing. I would like to see Errol Spence fight Robert the Ghost Guerrero then move on to a fight with Keith Thurman and or Danny Garcia. But I'd like to see Danny Garcia actually fight somebody in between there. Danny Garcia, you haven't fought, and won the belt against Guerrero. It was time. Maybe. Hey, how about this, guys? How about that? Just a thought here. Why don't we have Manny Pacquiao fight Danny Garcia? Now that would be a pretty good fight. I'm just saying, throwing it out there. They're talking about going up to 155 to fight Canelo. Why not stay at 147 and fight Danny Garcia? Whatever, But I doubt it'll happen. I doubt that one will happen. Even though Bob Arum said yes, we will now work with Al Haymon. You have no choice but to work with Al Haymon, because the fights you need to make and the fight you need to make, those guys are with Al Haymon. So don't make it seem like you and HBO and Showtime. HBO and Golden Boy and Top Rank make it look like they were shunning Al Haymon. They were doing all this damage, and they weren't doing nothing to Al Haymon. All they did was sell Al Haymon, sell cash up, door that's closed. Let me open this door here on Showtime. Let me open this door with this networks. Wydell and Reed are smart people. They don't invest with just any old body. They know what the hell they were getting themselves into. They knew what the dirt of boxing. They knew what was going on, but they also knew that this thing was big. They've seen its success, and I think what was meant to happen and what may happen, Wydell and Reed and Al Haymon probably have a plan. And that plan is to create a UFC-type model in boxing, which may happen. I think it will happen. I think that's what Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya and HBO got afraid of. Because if you look at Al Haymon, you represent all these fighters. If you can create your own little entity like the UFC, which means we'll say, screw that, we'll have our own tournaments, crown our own champion. Then the fighters that we'll fight, we have the best guys. And you got fighters, everybody want to sign with Al Haymon. Everybody want to sign with Golden Boy, with Mayweather Promotions. Al Haymon and Floyd Mayweather have been together forever. So this move here with Mayweather Promotions, now Al Haymon can say, you know what? Now I have my in-house promoter. I got Floyd. He's Mayweather Promotions. I can use DeBella. I've got all these different promoters because they keep trying to say he's breaking the Ali Boxing Act. But Al Haymon's like, man, look. Lou DeBella's he's a promoter. This guy, Lou DeBella pouring that car. He still goes right down the line and shows different promoters, legitimate promoters. He works with everybody, and that's what's smart. Al Haymon's just working with everybody. And the plan, I believe, is within the next couple years is pretty much they're going to create their own type of UFC within boxing, which is Al Haymon's going to take a bunch of his guys and they're going to create their own champions. They're going to go weight class by weight class, and they're going to get their own guys, and they're going to just say, you know what, screw the rest of you, and those that are with us, and those that aren't with us, and they're going to turn around and they may rule boxing. And I think that's why Wydell and Reed, that was a big game plan, and Wydell and Reed saw the success of the UFC and said, we can do that. That sounds like something there. That sounds like something. We can do that. And, and they saw the money, they see how Al Haymon does business. And Al Haymon knows how to get the top quality guys. And, damn. Unlike a lot of promoters, Al Haymon brings guys that lose fights but put up a good fight are back. Robert Guerrero turned around. He lost to Keith Thurman. Robert Guerrero lost to Mayweather, came back, won a couple. Got a fight with Keith Thurman. Lost to Keith Thurman. Came back, won one. Turned around his next fight. Who's he fighting? He's fighting Danny Garcia for the WBC title. Most promoters, they don't do that. Oh, you lose a fight. Especially those idiots on HBO. You lost a fight. You're not worth, your value diminished. No. There was a time in boxing in the 30s where if you got to be 30-0, you were undefeated today, the guys would say you fought nobody. Because if you fight the best guys along the line, someone on the line, they believe someone's going to trip you up. Even a great Sugar Ray Robinson lost at welterweight to Jake LaMotta. He avenged it, but he did lose. And what then hurt his career. We have all these great fighters that lost fights, but it didn't hurt any of their careers. But now, in this HBO's been doing this crap forever. They build up that that when you lose the they're like, you're no good anymore. But that's not true. Well, that's my time for this one here, and we will get back to you next week with more. I said I want to keep this short, so I'm going to do this in under 30 minutes. That's awesome. So until next time, it's David Wilson signing out. See you next week.